Marshall Katzman spent the first 8 years of his life living in Switzerland. It was during that time that he was introduced to the world of puppetry.
In Europe, puppetry is more of a universal art, unlike in the United States, except for recently, it's been geared towards little kids. So I recall going to a park and seeing an outdoor show and being fascinated by it.
When he was 8 years old, Katzman decided to buy his first puppets, and he put together shows for his neighbors. Like many performers, he learned the hard way that it's not easy to be an entertainer.
My first show was a disaster. The scenery fell down and all the kids wanted their money back. Now, they paid about 5 cents to see the show, and my mother made refreshments that were free, so they got refreshments and a show for 5 cents, and when the scenery fell down, they still wanted their money back. The first show was Sleeping Beauty. Haven't done that since.
But it only got better from there. He continued to practice developing his skills and attributes much of his success to those who came before him.
My first influence, when I came back to New York when I was 9 years old, my uncle took me to see Sergei Obraztsov, and Sergei Obraztsov was a Russian puppeteer with the Moscow Puppet Theater, and he was a hand puppeteer. He was my real influence. I was influenced by Jim Henson. Jim Henson I saw perform before he had the Muppets. He had a dog named Ralph, and he also did commercials. So a bunch of people have influenced me.
I understand that Little Red Riding Hood is on her way to see her grandmummy's house.
When he had time off from teaching, his one-man troupe would tour around the United States, performing at museums, nightclubs, camps, and military bases such as Fort Knox. Katzman performs a variety of shows, including children's classics such as Little Red Riding Hood and Jack and the Beanstalk, and then more mature shows for the older audiences. Originally, his puppets were made in Germany, but over time he figured out how to make them himself.
So I created the papier-mâché heads. My mother was a seamstress, so she did all of the wardrobes. I did the scenery, and then I did the audio, the sound effects, the music, and the electronics of it. And then for my latest shows, either I do the wardrobe or my wife helps me with the wardrobe. I still do the papier-mâché heads, and so they're all of the puppets that are being used today are all handmade.
It's been more than 50 years since Katzman's first performance, and he's come a long way. At this point in his career, he knows the ins and outs of his routine, but that's the easy part.
The hardest part is getting to the gig, because I worry, am I going to get lost? What's the weather going to be like? How many kids are going to be there? So setting up is the hardest part. Once I have it set up and I sit down and I get like lost in it, you know, it's ad-lib, it's audience participation, and anything could happen and anything has happened. So, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
As an entertainer, there's nothing better than getting the audience involved and knowing that everyone is having a good time. As long as that continues to happen, Marshall Katzman will be behind the stage performing with his puppets.